Hey guys, McGovern Mike 1 here. It's the same day, because I actually finished reading three of the books so far. I'm currently reading From Russia with Love, so that will come whenever I finish it. So, I reviewed, last book I reviewed is Live and Let Die. Excellent book, pretty good book. So, the next book in the series, Ian Fleming puts this book out in 1955, a year after Live and Let Die. He was putting these out every year, once a year. He puts out Moonraker. And Moonraker, to a lot of fans of the Bond novels, this is a huge fan favorite. A lot of Bond fans praised this book. It took me forever to find a copy of it because I live in Canton, Ohio. Canton, whatever. I pronounce it like how it James Bond books and Ian Fleming books are just hard to find in a big bookstore. The nearest big bookstore I have that's near my house is Books a Million. I can't. It used to be Borders and stuff like that. I used to find Ian Fleming books all the time. That's where I got most of my Ian Fleming books. I can't find their stuff anywhere, so I had to order this off Amazon. I ordered this book back in 2019, and I've never even read it. I just okay, I'm kind of not reading Bond right now, so I'm not going to read this for a bit. And then I finally got to it this year. After finishing Live and Let Die, I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump into Moonraker. And I was fully gripped into this book. I'm like, oh my god, this is a really good James Bond book. The first read, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to do, a little review on it. So the book, it centers on James Bond. Again, he's the main character of the series. The whole setting of this book, though, is interesting. And Casino Royale, I'm pretty sure it takes place in Monte Carlo, or Montenegro. I'm pretty sure it takes place in Montenegro in the book. I can't fully remember. I gotta look into that detail again because that place, the Casino Royale, will come back in a later book in the series. And so it takes place there, and then in Live and Let Die, it takes place in England, New York, Florida, and Jamaica. This time, it's grounded straight into England. It takes place fully in England. There's no other country Bond ever goes to. It's just the whole investigation takes place in London, England. So, no exotic locations here. So it takes place, I think, a year after Live and Let Die. Like I said, Fleming is known for not dating the stories in his books. So I'm pretty sure it takes place a year later. The whole book is structured pretty differently compared to the last one. It has three parts to it. Part 1 is called Monday, Part 2 is called Tuesday through Wednesday, and Part 3 is Thursday and Friday. So, okay, Bond is investigating a company called Drax Metal. They're creating a rocket called the Moonraker. And the Moonraker was going to be used as a thing for Britain, to save Britain and stuff like that. It's going to destroy something. But some really strange stuff happens in Drax's company. People are getting murdered. Murdered. Like people hanging themselves or people getting shot in his factory. So Bond, initially Bond and them actually try to to look at Drax at his at this gambling place called the Blades Club. It's a place where they play gamble and stuff like that. It's also a restaurant and stuff. It's a club. So Bond and M goes down there, and Bond gets heavily drunk and decides to play cards with Drax because Drax is supposedly cheating. And Drax is this guy that's not from England. He's a German who moved to England and decides he wants to become a British citizen. And this is starting to get sketchy, don't you think? He's this red-haired guy, beard and stuff like that. It's a very strange-looking man. He supposedly is cheating cards. So Bond, he's getting drunk, he's cheating too. And then Drax is like, "You piece of you're cheating." So, and he storms out. And then another murder happens in Drax's factory. So Bond has to go under as as Drax's security guard for his factory, and to investigate what the hell is going on here. There could be somebody could be sabotaging the Moonraker because they really need the Moonraker. The Russians could be supposedly sabotaging it, and they can't have that. They don't want to have another World War II incident happening with the Nazis and stuff like that. So understandably, Bond goes down there under investigation and works with this other British agent called Garla Brand, who's the Bond girl in this book. She's a very cold person, kind of cold. They don't really. It's not a typical Bond girl. So not like Solitaire, where Bond goes like, "Oh my God, she's beautiful," and he doesn't fall in love with her like Vesper. So Bond goes under investigation. The track. The keeping an eye on stuff with Hugo Drax, and some weird stuff happens. Right when Bond goes into his room, one of the German scientists is in there going through Bond's room, and Bond goes like, "What the hell?" and kicks him straight into the butt. Actually, kicks his butt, and then says some like German type stuff, and he's like, "Get out of here!" So so that happens. Some weird stuff is happening, and Garla Brand is also a British officer. I'm pretty sure she was a police officer in the book. I'm not too sure, British agent or a police officer. British officer. They go for a walk on a beach and go investigate what the hell's going on here, and they notice some like really weird stuff. So as they go for a swim to investigate this weird stuff, and some shit happens, and so they decide they need to go back to Drax's estate, and Drax is like, "Where are you guys been? You've been missing for hours," and they're like, "Oh, we were going out of town, went for a bite to eat, and just drove around." So and they went to bed, and then they decided they need to alert the upper authorities and stuff to see what the hell's going on here, and so they go into town and warn their bosses, see what's going on. Garla Brand goes with Drax in his like nice car. I'm pretty sure it's a Rolls Royce. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember what car he drives in this book. It's a very strange car that I don't hear about all that much. What chapter? And plus, this book is very fresh off my mind, so I'm going through with memory here. Okay, 178. Yeah, Bond drives a Bentley in this book, of course. That's his usual car in the book series. Okay, Drax drives a Mercedes. He drives a Mercedes. So he drives a Mercedes, and Garla's like, "Oh, I forgot the powder, my nose." And she takes this book that Drax is holding on, this notebook. She looks through it, and she tears the page out, and it's guidance stuff for the Moonraker. She's like, "What the hell is this? This is not going to the supposed target that the Moonraker's going." So, and then one of Drax's goons, henchmen, recognizes something weird's going on and goes like, Captain, she's holding the notebook!" And then Garla Brand gets tortured and kidnapped, and then Bond is talking with Garla Brand's boss and also investigating some things to see what the hell's going on, and Garla Brand is missing, so Bond gets suspicious, and he chases Drax with his Bentley, and then his Bentley gets trashed again, like in Casino Royale, but this time this Bentley doesn't survive a beating, so he gets a new Bentley later down the road. Bond gets kidnapped, and Drax is going through his plan. Drax is a Nazi commander who has a grudge against England and Britain. He hates it. The British hates him. He's a Nazi, and And so after when World War II fell apart, he goes to Tangier to remodel his face, gets a new look, kind of like plastic surgery, and then buys up stuff and makes up his own company called Drax Metal and makes the Moonraker. And he's going to use the Moonraker to destroy London, England. Thousands, millions of people will be killed. And he's also working with Smersh. No surprise there. Smersh is heavily in the Bond novels. That was the main villains of the books for quite a while. So Bond's like, millions of people. Oh my god, this is bad. So they get trapped in an exhaust area where the rocket, would fire. They get out of there, and then Drax and his goons go out to this port area where they're going to demonstrate the Moonraker launch. And so Bond and Garla Brand goes up to the control room to modify the coordinates for the Moonraker. Instead of like landing in London, it would land into the sea, which also becomes a big giant fuck up for Bond. I'll get into that when we talk about the ending, because the ending is twisted. So the rocket launches, and everyone's like, cheers, yeah, the Moonraker, all right, yeah. And Drax goes to this Soviet submarine that showed up out of nowhere, and has also his goons. They go into the Soviet submarine that's probably sent by Smersh, and goes underwater. But the Moonraker rocket is supposed to go straight into the sea, into the water, where the submarine is located at. So this is starting to get twisted. I'm like, reading the book, I'm like, oh my god, what the hell? This is starting to get really crazy. And then, and the BBC press is like, oh my god, the Moonraker, there's something wrong with the Moonraker. There's a submarine over there. There's a submarine over there. Oh my god, what the hell's going on? The rocket hits the water. Drax and his goons get killed. An explosion happens. A huge tidal wave hits. The submarine goes sideways. Nobody's alive in that submarine, by the way. It crashes into the dock, and 300 people are missing. I'm like, oh my god. And then Bond gets debriefed by M, and M pretty much tells Bond, you gotta get out of the country. I have to go clean up your fucking mess. God damn it, James. So they go. He decides he's gonna go to Paris. He's gonna go to France, and he wants to take Garla Brand with her. But Garla is actually proposing to another British officer. They get married. So Bond is pretty much left alone. To go to Paris. The final words of Bond in the novel is okay, she apologizes that, not to go to Paris, I'm going to go get married. And Bond says, yes, I suppose so. Said Bond, well, goodbye, Garla. He held out his hand. She said, goodbye, James. He touched her for the last time, and then they turned away from each other and walked off into their different lives. Overall, this book is very, very good. It's a very good read. It's not my all-time favorite James Bond novel. I'll name that one later down the road when I get into that book. This book is up there, though. It's a really great book. It is a fan favorite. A lot of fans love this book. It has a twisted ending for a Bond novel. I remember when I read this, I was like, I told my dad I've been reading these Bond books. He's a James Bond fan too. He doesn't like the newer stuff, but I told him I've been reading the Fleming books because they're different, and I would tell him how different they are. I told him the ending of this book. He was like, that is crazy. And also I told other friends about this book, and they were like, wow, that's nuts. That is gritty, very brutal, and disturbing. I'm like, yeah. It's a very good read. So, originally there was supposed to be an adaptation of this book back in the 1950s. Someone tied up the rights for this book to get made, and it never got off the ground, just like Live and Let Die and stuff like that. It never got off the ground. And initially, when Eon bought the rights to the book series, Moonraker wasn't really there to be purchased. Same with Casino Royale. because, people are trying to get this book off the ground. Then eventually Eon, buys the book, they eventually will make something out of it. And then years later, the Bond series was starting to get successful. After Live and Let Die came out, The Man with the Golden Gun was released in 1974 and becomes a mediocre, not a great hit. And then The Spy Who Loved Me came out in 1977 and became a huge monster hit. But a little film called Star Wars came out and took a good chunk of the money from that movie. So Cubby Broccoli was originally going to make For Your Eyes Only as the next Bond film, but instead he makes Moonraker instead as the next one, and all is history. And this movie has nothing to do with the book at all. It only takes the title and the villain and maybe one key sequence, and that's pretty much it. There's like nothing else. The movie is about Bond investigating Drax, about a robbery of a Moonraker shuttlecraft. Instead of rockets, it's a shuttlecraft because, NASA was developing their shuttlecraft, and they wanted to release this film along with the shuttle launch, which never happened because I think the shuttle launch was a year after the film came out, because this came out in 1979. Bond is investigating Drax. Lots of stuff happens, and Bond goes into outer space. If you can tell, he's wearing a spacesuit. I'm like, damn. I saw this film as a kid. I remember I didn't like this movie at all. I thought it was boring. But then when I saw the laser battle scene, I was like, woo! I became a huge fan. And a lot of people consider this as one of the worst films in the series. I like this film. I think it's a fun film. And this is Roger Moore's fourth James Bond film, 1979. So comparisons, nothing. They only took Drax and the name of the novel, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing else. There's no nuclear rockets or any of that stuff. It's just space pods getting fired out with nerve gas and lasers. So, but yeah, the film was still fun. It became the hugest grossing, the highest successful Bond film for a long time. Not as high as Thunderball, but, and then GoldenEye came out and broke Moonraker's record, and then eventually Thunderball's record gets destroyed by Skyfall. Later down the road, elements from this book were used in other stuff. I'm pretty sure, supposedly, Octopussy took some stuff out of Moonraker. I am not 100% sure about that. I know there was the opening scene of Octopussy was supposed to be in the Moonraker film, but that's about it. I don't think they took anything from the Moonraker novel, but probably the heaviest amount of stuff that they took would be in Die Another Day. This is Pierce Brosnan's last film in 2002. They took a lot of elements from the Colonel's Son novel, which I haven't read yet. I ordered a copy of it. I'll do a review on that one. I'm actually interested in reading that one instead of the other post-Fleming Bond novels. They also took stuff out of Moonraker as well. The character Colonel's Son gets a facelift and stuff, a la Hugo Drax and Moonraker, and turns into this British celebrity billionaire. Toby Stevens, sorry. Toby Stevens. And then, a lot of elements from Moonraker were used into this film. Not every detail, and originally the character Miranda Frost, played by Rosamund Pike, was originally going to be Garla Brand, but instead they changed the character because, Garla Brand is not a villain in the book, so. But they did take some stuff out of this and put it into this, which I think that's kind of interesting. I never knew that for years. But this is a really fun read, and I definitely recommend it if you want to read a James Bond book. This is definitely a good one to start with. It's just a very fun, entertaining read. I give this one a 9 out of 10, and 9 out of 10. The reason why I give it a 9 out of 10, the ending is a little messed up, and it just shocked me. It just completely blew my mind. And the film is a good film. It's not a true adaptation of the source material whatsoever, but this was during the time when they weren't really following any of the Fleming books during that period. Like Live and Let Die, it followed the book here and there. Man with the Golden Gun did not follow the book that well. From what I've heard, I've never read the book. The Spy Who Loved Me, they couldn't film any of that book into a movie for reasons. I'll get into that with my review of that book. And then in this one, they did not follow the novel. Die Another Day took some stuff here and there, but it wasn't really a true adaptation, and it wasn't a great Bond film, even though this was my very first Bond film, but it's still not my favorite in the series. It was ranked pretty low. But overall, Moonraker is a very solid book, and I definitely highly recommend this one. And I recommend the film. It is the most over-the-top Bond film in the series. This being rivaling it, but not really that over-the-top. But I recommend Moonraker. It's a very good, solid entry in the series. The next review will be Diamonds Are Forever, and I'll see you guys in that video. Peace.